Hola guys and girls, and welcome to the not so much mid-season conference, press conference anymore. As I mentioned in another video, I planned to do this after week 6, but I already knew at that point that I was doing some big trades for the GBA, and I thought to merge these two videos together. But let's start, of course, with the press conference part. You guys gave me some questions on my announcement video for the said press conference, so let's get right into answering them. Especially since we're wearing the official Borussia Donphan shirt. Gotta get dressed up for an official occasion as this. But yeah, let's start with the first question. Or it's actually not the first question, I solved them by news, so I guess the first answer is the newest question. But either way, let's start with Scizor. He asked, how do you feel about the direction of the GBA in terms of league rules, e.g. over the season limitations, other seasons, exit and influx of coaches, level of the league, and reputation? I'm not too aware of draft leagues in general, just interested in your reflection. If you don't feel like answering, quote-unquote, some question, also fine. Congress on your position halfway the season and a solid trade. Only potential downside I feel is that Deoxys is pushed in his Death Rock role each week now. Okay, so obviously the comments about the trade itself, I can address them a little, but the main focus, of course, on the questions. And the questions, of course, how do you feel about the direction in GBA in terms of very different things. Let's start with the first one in terms of rules. So, I like the rule set in general of the GBA. The first time I joined, actually, I was in a more point system draft league, if that makes sense. Like, basically you have 100 points, and then it's basically the same as tiering, but it's all the point draft, like we have our 4 free picks in the GBA. And then I got the GBA, and then I got introduced to the whole tiering system they have, and then you have so many dead picks, and few free picks and stuff like that. I mean, that system didn't really change all that much over the seasons. It's basically known as the GBA system, since that's like a mixture of a free draft and the tiered draft and the point draft and all this good stuff. But yeah, at first I wasn't really a fan. I thought the pure point system is superior, but I guess just throughout the seasons I was part of it, it grown to me. It's probably my most favorite version of drafting in comparison to free draft and the point draft and all this good stuff. But that might just be me doing this draft the most currently, obviously for GBA, and a few other leagues use that system as well. And yeah, it's just growing on me. There are downsides and plus sides to every draft system you do. So I don't know if there's like a objectively superior system to anything, but objectively I would say I like the GBA system the most. Then I would go point draft, and then I would go free draft. I like free draft the least. I mean, I guess you can, like, everyone will have better teams and stuff like that, but I like when the drafting is like more quote-unquote challenging, if that makes sense. So that if you're good at drafting and good at predicting what your opponent will pick, what they're missing and stuff like that, that matters if you are good at that, and so it reflects in having a quote-unquote better draft than the others. If it's a free draft and you get sniped, like, it doesn't matter too much, since you can pick anything else and not like anything in a specific tier you need. That's why I feel like I'm still, like, if there's a free draft in the league I'm not gonna complain and say, oh no, free draft, blah. It's just like my personal reflection on that. And the other rules didn't change that much. Like, this time we allowed Ubers, which is basically just we had a bit shifting in tiers. The overall system was the same. So overall, the rules of the GBA I'm very much fine with. We have like little tier changes here and there, but in general, I am a fan of the GBA rule set, if that makes sense. I mean, I was part in shaping it throughout my seasons, like every time we have some votes and what do we change, what do we don't want to change, so obviously I'm a bit biased towards that. But yeah, so yeah, I think that answers that question. Now then, exit influx of coaches. So there's of course a more an annoying topic, or not really annoying topic, like obviously it sucks if you have a lot of coaches leaving, but obviously it's great if you can have a lot of new coaches joining. So in overall, I think I rather have a consistent bunch of coaches. Like, at least have like over 2/3 of your league, so it should like stay in the next season, and then have a few new coaches. Obviously, you don't want to have every time the same coaches, and then going on like no changing up stuff like that. But that's actually what Steve wanted when he first created the league. Like, he had the contract system, which basically when you draft them on, you can choose, okay, this is like a 3-year contract, so I'm gonna have this one for 3 seasons, and stuff like that. Basically, only really works if you have a consistent bunch of people who stay throughout the seasons. But because no one new coming in, basically what he had to do is take over a draft of someone, who like picked summons which he has to use, and from this previous season, all this good stuff. So it's not as fun like if you have to take over a draft, especially if even though you started at the beginning of the season. Like if you take over mid-season, obviously you have to take over the draft because you can't just draft a new. But yeah, I would be interested in something like that, but it's a real commitment, so you have to know that you can be there for like a good amount of seasons at least. But extra influence coaches, of course, we did gain some coaches which turned out to be great additions. We had some coaches who turned out to be not so great additions, which like stayed for one season and then left again because it wasn't their cup of tea. And obviously we lost coaches which were great additions, and we would have loved to stay, and then we lost coaches which were like, oh yeah, makes sense. Like you weren't really enjoying yourself, you weren't really doing the best, so makes sense if you don't want to go. We're not stopping you, if that makes sense. I don't want to big names here or something like that. It's always objective every time. Like people I would have loved to stay in the league, others maybe thought, okay, yeah, good, they're gone, and other way around, people I would have loved to join, or I don't want to join, others thought in the league, oh yeah, they're great addition and stuff like that. We always vote on that, so it's always the majority vote. Sometimes I get my way, sometimes I don't get my way. So that's just how democracy works. So you can't complain too much about that. But yeah, so in general, excellent influx of coaches. I think the past few seasons, I think from last season to this season, we had a rather big change up of coaches. Which, like I said, these big changes, I'm not really a fan of. I like having a few changes. I don't want to have the roster throughout the season. And of course, you can improve and you can expand and all this good stuff. But when you have some big switch around, like a lot leaving, a lot new people coming in, I'm not too much a fan of that, even though that has, of course, some positives as well. So, next, level of league and reputation. So, level of league, I think with level of league, you mean like the competitiveness, and with reputation, obviously the reputation. So, first, I'm going to talk about level of league, so the competition-wise. So, that, of course, comes in together with the first thing, with influx and exit of coaches. Most of the times you have a good idea. If a new coach joins, you have like some idea like how well are they versed in competitive and good stuff. You can look at their content, you can look at the previous records in different leagues. Is it the first league overall and all this good stuff? But I always like taking people fresh. Like for example, the best example of that is basically back in the day we added Envy, which had no league experience whatsoever, and even though we know he knew what he's doing competitive, but he was doing very well that season, even though it was his first one. And yeah, other coaches we added, which were doing great in other leagues, some in GBA they just slumped. I don't know if it's like a one season thing and it would have stayed longer, they would have done better. But yeah, so overall level of league, okay, that of course depends on this season. So, do I think, like, I guess from the seasons on, the first one I joined was season 6, I think? Or was it season 5? Oh god, I actually don't remember. Okay, from the first season I started, I was doing pretty well. I think it was season 5. Season 6, and we are currently in season 9. So, I think I joined season 6, and I think actually, no, season 5 I joined. When did I join the GBA? God, I don't even remember that myself. We'll have to look at the doc back. I think I joined season 5, because season 6, no wait, season 7 was the first one with Gen 7. And I had 2 seasons before with Gen 6, so yeah, season 5 I joined. So if I had to rank, I think season 6 was the most competitive, if I remember correctly. And after that, it's kind of like the first season 5 was, I think, the competitive wise, at least on the opponents I faced. I don't actually remember. Like it's hard to remember since I'm mixing up mixing up seasons, but I have to rank like season 5, season 6 highest, and then we had like a down from season 6 a step, then the others are like kind of the same level. Like I think season 5 was the lowest, season 6 was the highest, and all the other seasons so far. Like, I'm not counting this one in currently since it's not finished yet, and like it might turn out great, but or better than it already is. I already have an idea. But all the other seasons, they're kind of like they don't take much versus each other. There's like maybe one which is better than the other, but it's like so minuscule that I can't really look at. I would have to look at the actual records and look at the divisions, and then I can say, okay, yeah, see everyone was actually pretty close, so that was a pretty competitive season. Because competitiveness doesn't mean that everyone has to be great, obviously. Like, if everyone has the same level of play, that is an exciting and competitive season. That's like the reason we have tiers as well, since not only using the best Pokemon doesn't make you competitive, you have to use the, like, that's why a different tier system. Like, you can use quote-unquote worst Pokemon in a tier where you're doing great, since we're on the same level. That was pretty confusing explained, but yeah. So overall, with reputation, of course, we did took a hit with the whole thing, mainly the whole thing with the graphic which like one guy in the council was trying to get a better price basically, or ask him to make the price cheaper, since GBA is offering exposure and all stuff as well. So yeah, exposure of course is the very very forbidden word if you're talking to an artist. It's get memed a lot, and they get so much spam with like stuff like that, and yeah, definitely poorly worded and poorly asked in general. I think it was a bit blown out of proportion, since our council guy was not really rude about it. I think he was like he was asking here on a if he could make it cheaper, like, that's your price, that's okay, that's pretty high for us. We won't be able, or we don't want to pay that much, so could you make it cheaper? No, problem solved. Don't think it was. I think it was a bit blown out of proportion, but obviously it wasn't great handled either, if that makes sense. So it didn't need to happen. Obviously it's bad, but I think it was a bit blown out of proportion, if that makes sense. But yeah, other than that, did you have other big that's the only big controversy which comes to mind currently. But other than that, of course, in general, the GBA, there are a lot of other leagues which are popping up. So we have a lot of more competition going on with, like, what is the quote-unquote best and biggest league. WBE is of course making a huge thing this season, trying to be the best with a lot of coaches, and they have a great team of analysts. Like, what I think the GBA always had one step above all the other leagues is like an insanely hardworking analyst team, which put in a lot of work into their videos, and we had like this whole thing around. It's not just the battles, it's the analyzing videos, it's the discussion between analysts and coaches, analysts and fans between fans, and all this good stuff. Like, basically the matches itself were the core part, but then there was this whole thing around the just coaches battling each other, which made, like, in my opinion, the GBA for the longest part my favorite league, at least. And yeah, no real league I saw out there could duplicate that. Like, many leagues try to have like analysts and do this stuff, but the GBA was always the number one on that, with just amount and ideas of shows and stuff like that. Obviously, WBE is working on that as well. Maybe they overthrow us in that regard. Maybe they will suck as well. We will find out. But yeah, that's around these questions. Damn, that's already 12 minutes. That's a lot of things. So, next question from Canadian Shinx E. What is your favorite pre-game beer? Has it changed from the last few seasons? And if so, you think that change is linked to the higher success rate this season? My favorite pre-game beer. So, I think my favorite pre-game beer is the same as my favorite beer overall. So far, I think I could actually make a study out of that, like drinking which beer gives me a higher performance in the matches. But my favorite beer overall is, of course, free beer. That's a joke aside. My second favorite, of course, being cold beer. But currently, I would say my favorite beer overall is the Weizen. In Germany, it's the white beer, and that stayed the same. I moved more to the south of Germany, like compared to my old apartment, and here there's more white beer drinker around, so basically it came from the south. A bit more than the south when I'm currently, but it came from the south. So I guess I could get better white beer here, but so far I stayed with the big brands. So yeah, that's still my favorite beer. So yeah, whatever it is that makes my success rate higher this season, it's not the beer. Something else maybe. Maybe the booze. Who knows? But yeah, let's hop to the next question. Alexander Allison wants to know, or the same. My favorite Kovac name nickname is the terror name Kof Egregious. But of course, you already know I called it the truth. That's a Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood reference. But let's go to the actual question. Also, my question to you: I guess now halfway through the season and still undefeated, the only undefeated coach at that. Of course, that changed real quick. Do you think you have a legitimate chance of the first ever undefeated season in GBA history? So obviously, we already know the answer to that. No, I don't have a chance. I actually lost the game right away versus Leo, But to be honest, at that point, of course, I had a chance. I'm not the best draft league coach in the GBA, just record-wise. I think record-wise is the best you can look at it. That's the most objective way to look at the quote-unquote skill of a coach in draft format. And there are obviously coaches in the league who have a way better record than me. But I like to think about myself that I that's how I imagine myself, at least, being like kind of the wild horse. I can beat anyone. I'm confident in that. I could beat anyone in the league. If in a battle with them, I never go into the match and I thought, oh no, I'm facing guy X, I'm gonna lose, like who cares, blah blah. That's why I like to be cocky as well, because that's way more fun than actually going in the league and being like, I lose either way to whoever, Leo, Envy, Jolt, whatever. I'm losing either way, because then you're not risking enough. You're just going to this, and you basically can't lose, because either way you actually lose versus him. Think, yeah, see, Scizor, I'm gonna lose versus this guy. And if you actually win, then you can say, oh yeah, I won. I won versus this guy, even though I thought I was losing. Look at it, I'm actually better than I thought. So no, there's like nothing on the line there. You're just saying things to play it safe, and that's lame. I don't like that. That's why I like being cocky a lot, especially in the comments and stuff like that. Because then if you set yourself up for failure by being very cocky, was like, I'm gonna crush you, I'm gonna suck that guy, he sucks, I'm the best, blah blah blah, all this good stuff. Because then you're actually putting something on the line. Because then you need to win if you put that much trash talk forward. And if you lose, of course, then yeah, it sucks. You're basically all your pre-talk basically was for nothing. But yeah, that's what I like to think about myself. Obviously, I'm not the most consistent, but I hope to think that everyone who faces me is at least a little bit scared that I might beat them. So yeah, I honestly think about myself. I have the capabilities and to make the prep and make the plays to beat any coach in the league. And that's why I can go confident in the match and then go into a match and say, yeah, he might be pretty good, and I will have to step it up compared to in other matchups, but I can beat him, and I will beat him. So yeah, that's about that question. Then next up, Lagodia wants to know: do you feel that team building might become too restrictive with the stealth rocks you currently have? E.g., SR Deoxys is forced to run Sash. Yes, it did. Obviously, that changed now with the out-translations I did, but that was a problem of my draft in general, and then I dropped another Stealth Rocker, so I made it kind of worse. That my Lando and at that point, the question was asked Deoxys, Lando, and Jirachi were my only Stealth Rockers, and the only quote-unquote reliable Stealth Rocker from those is Jirachi. But that's only like if you want to be a more utility defensive set, which Jirachi happened to be a lot in my matches. Lando, of course, doesn't really want to run rocks. And Deoxys not either. They'd rather have coverage. And by building an offensive Jirachi with rocks is usually pretty difficult, because you have rocks, and then you have one stab, then you most likely have U-turn, and then you have one coverage move. And that's not a good offensive set. It's very difficult to hit a whole draft if you only have one of the stab moves, which is just by a lot, and one coverage move and U-turn. So you could forgo U-turn and just put 3 coverage moves on that, but usually you like why put coverage on something to hit something if you can just U-turn out and then get the momentum in a proper counter and not like a lesser coverage counter. So that's why I always like U-turn more on that. So yeah, my team building got restrictive that I always, or at least in a lot of matches, I had to say, okay, who do I put in? I have to put someone in Jirachi or Lando, and someone has to have rocks on that. So yeah, it was a restrictive factor, and something I have to look out for in future drafts, that I actually get enough Stealth Rockers, which like to run Stealth Rockers as well. So then, next question from Lacanus. Does he have? Oh, damn it, that's not a question. Oh, wait, yes. He has a question. Okay, I'm not going to talk about the whole first bit, but let's go to the actual question. So I have one question regarding the format. There's some Uber that I feel like fall off in viability because everyone knows you're bringing it and can prep for it. Good example, Blaziken, as it shines when there's no recounters to it. Compared to like an Uber like Arceus, which is impossible to prep for because it can do anything, or even something like a Magina, which is a million sets you can't all prep for. So what would you say is the hardest Uber to prep against in a format where everyone only has 1 or 2? So the problem with Ubers is, or like not the problem, is like we don't really, I already mentioned that in a different video, we don't really have Uber's draft. We more have like a standard draft with like an Uber tagged onto it, or like 1.5 or 2 Ubers, depending on how people draft and what's allowed and stuff like that. So it's not really real Uber's draft, because I was first part in, and then I took it over, the UDL, which is an Uber's draft league. There were like, every Uber was allowed in there, barring Mega Race, not an Uber, but the Groudon, Primal Groudon thing, and Primal Kyogre. And then we just tiered all the Ubers. So basically what was better there is that for the opponent's Ubers, you had Ubers to build as checks versus them. So far, with the system we have, all our Ubers are mainly great offensive threats. No one really drafted defensive Uber, because who wants to do that? If you have an Uber, you want something which can hit hard. So you are facing off with an Uber, but as counters, you have to use your lower tier mons, which is a lot challenging. Like a lot of times, like I was good of the times because Mandibuzz and Trangrowth are defensive monsters, and they actually were able to take on most of the Ubers we were facing off against at least. But that is all. Every Uber is very annoying to prep for because you know, okay, my Mandibuzz can take 2 hits, but if the rocks up, suddenly can't anymore. And if he's life orb, like a lot of the times I was calcing, I was thinking, okay, how bulky do I have to be to live like a life orb hit? And then, okay, never mind. Doesn't matter how much investment I have, life orb hit will always 2-hit KO me. And I thought, okay, non-life orb Modest? Oh yeah, Modest still has a chance to 2-hit KO me. Doesn't matter how much set I have. Okay, then let's have enough investment for like Timid, max special attack, whatever, Mon X. And that was like all the prep I could do. If the opponent would actually run a more offensive variant, that I just had no switch in suddenly. So it's challenging, and to like have your lower tier defensive mons to be defensive and being able to check the opposing Ubers. But I like that challenge a lot actually. I like the switch up. I'm a big fan of this Ubers switch up to have like something else than the usual format and have like some prep for something you never had to prep before, or prep with something you never were able to prep before. And yeah, it opens just a whole nother door of things. But if I actually had to choose a mon, what is the hardest Uber to prep against format? So from the Ubers I faced so far, I think it depends a lot on team matchup, but the hardest I think I had to prep for so far were the Marshadow from Leo and the Mega Mawile from Aster. Marshadow, basically what turned out to be my prep is like, fuck prepping for that thing, I'm just gonna full offense. But if I'm facing in playoffs, that's gonna be a pain. I did a lot of calcs, and I tried to do things and stuff, but prepping for the Marshadow is a pain in the dick. And yeah, then Mega Mawile, I theoretically had a switch in. Like Tangrowth could switch in and then Synthesis and then try to 1v1 it. But problem is he had Tyranitar with Sand, so then Synthesis isn't a thing anymore, and Tangrowth doesn't really have anything good to pressure it offensively, like 1v1, barring Sleep Powder, which like I just put something else to sleep because of Sleep Cost, and suddenly it's not a check anymore. So from the other Ubers I had, of course I faced Kyle with his Mega Blaziken and Proton Greninja. Proton Greninja was very annoying, but at some point you just had to say, okay, he can only run 4 moves, so eventually one of my mons will be able to wall it. But Proton Greninja, because depending on the moves it has, it could have beaten every mon I brought. But then like he has 4 moves, so you can beat, like let's say he can beat 4 of my mons 1v1, but then the other 2 are still checks to it. So that's like kind of how you have to do that. Week 1, I faced Dancer with Genesect Palkia. With Palkia, of course, Azumarill is a great check, just it's Water Dragon, I'm Water Fairy, I resist both stat, one I'm immune to. There the problem was as well, like if he would have been Life Up Thunder, Azumarill was 2-hit KO'd, and then not a check anymore. And then Genesect is a U-turning monster. You need a mon which can resist stuff and have a Rocky Helmet preferably, and then you can check it nicely. And yeah, week 2 I faced, let me actually look at the doc. Who did I face? Let's look at the actual Ubers I faced. Let's not just make stuff up. Let's look at the doc. You weren't seeing it, any of that. But yeah, week 2 I faced the New York Noibats. Yeah, Mewtwo was a great pain as well to prep for, because similar to, like, that's another example. If it would have been Life Orb Mewtwo, I had no switch in. None at all. Everything could have potentially been 2-hit KO'd. And yeah, hurting that thing in back is very annoying as well, since it's just fast. I can potentially recover versus you. It has very high HP. And yeah, very annoying. Then my Donphans we talked about already. Then Melbourne Rotoms, he has Rayquaza and the Aegislash. Aegislash was not so bad, because he mostly ran Aegislash very rarely as a sweeping variant. Even as a sweeping variant, it's like more easy to have something to make sure it's not sweeping you. Like something which is faster, resist Ghost Stab, and then you have something, you just have to weaken it a little bit, and then you can beat it with your check. The Rayquaza was a different story. Once again, Rayquaza, I had to Scarf Jirachi and all this good stuff, because if he gets the Dragon Dance up and he's faster than everything, he draws way too much coverage, no switch-ins, very random to prep for. Then Tennessee Trubbish definitely had Kyurem White, which was no problem as well, since I have a Azumarill, which is just both a stab, and Kyurem White doesn't actually get the Fusion Bolt, so you had to rely on hidden powers. And his other Uber is Gothitelle, I think. And Gothitelle, like, I think all the Ubers which are usually seen, like Gothitelle, Protein Greninja, Speed with Blaziken, all these mons, I think they're not there are ways to do worse picks, in my honest opinion. So yeah, then Durham Dragons, talked about that already, Marshadow, and then if Montreal Hapsalts with Mega Mawile. Like, I would say Mega Mawile and Marshadow are the most annoying, but from the matches I won, I think the most annoying to prep for was the... I wouldn't say... I struggled more with Mewtwo, because with Rayquaza it was pretty quick. It was obvious, okay, I'm not having a switch into this thing, I need to offensively check it. But with Mewtwo I was like trying to come up with some set in Mon which can reliably check that thing. But yeah, that's why I think Mewtwo is probably going to go to the #1 spot. Because I could have just come faster to the conclusion that Manabuzz is the thing, and I just have to hope he's not Life Orb. Versus Rayquaza versus, okay, I have a Manabuzz, I have a Tangrowth, I have Jirachi, Peak Raid, Dragon's Hand, Blau, everything dies. I can't check it defensively. But yeah, okay. That was that question. I think that's actually the last question as well. No, we have one more question from Jutson, or Jutson. Sorry if I butchered that. But yeah, do you find it difficult to prep with or use Deoxys attack? So, I dropped that thing. So now I can talk about it a little bit. And Deoxys attack, yeah, in that regard, it's difficult to prep for. The first thing you look out on your opponent's team is what is their Pursuit Trapper. Like, does he have a Pursuit Trapper? And then you're looking at, okay, can I beat this Pursuit Trapper with Deoxys? Or do I have to kill it before I can use Deoxys? If I have to kill it before I can effectively use Deoxys, I'm most likely not bringing Deoxys. And then the other thing I look at, okay, what are his extreme speed resists? And how likely are they that they are scarfed or they have priority versus me? Like the Marshadow, like Scarf Lunala, all this good stuff. And there you can still switch out versus them. And then you look, okay, what is my check versus those guys? I have a good check versus those guys, so I can still bring Deoxys and do the thing. Other than that, I like Deoxys a lot since I was a lot relying on the physical set because Extreme Speed is just so powerful from Deoxys that you always want to run the physical set. So all the Scarfers which try to revenge kill you, bob, Extreme Speed, are bobbed. But other than that, Psychic Boost is just way too strong of a move, so I had that basically on close to every Deoxys set as well. And then you have to just choose 2 coverage moves, what hits the team the best. And Deoxys gets so much coverage, it's pretty insane. So basically it was pretty easy to prep with Deoxys because, like I said, you look at those factors, then you look at the rest of the team and say, okay, this set. Because you're never running a defensive Deoxys. You look at the speed I need, okay, which Mon do I have speed, which Scarfer can I still outspeed, and stuff like that. Then you see, most are 6 max defensive and only run physical moves, or do I want to be more special for it? Because this Mons which check Deoxys have a lower defense, the special defense or something like that. So, once you decide, okay, I'm bringing Deoxys to the match, it was pretty easy to prep for. Using Deoxys, I think most of the times, because I used it with Extreme Speed and all this good stuff, I was keeping it in the backhand as a late game sweeper. I was bringing it out very rarely, actually, compared to my other Mons. Because the problem is I didn't want to bring it out if it wasn't gonna, or if it couldn't sweep, because I always had in the backhand as my late game sweeper. So I think I could have used Deoxys different in that regard, that I've used it more of a wall breaker and just switch it in every time as often as possible, just to click buttons and kill mons. But like I said, most of the times I kept it in the bag to come in at some point and sweep. Which at some points it never happened, like I won before I could sweep, and other points I just lost before I could get damage on mons, which managed Deoxys to sweep. So yeah, and I think where I could have used Deoxys better. But overall, I was a big fan of that. Very happy to get that this late in the draft. But yeah, that's, I think, a good transition to our trade speed. So yeah, if you watched the trades video, you already know we basically dropped Mega Manectric, Mega Manectric, Deoxys, and Conkeldurr for Aerodactyl, Mega Lucario, and Heliolisk. So, the very easy reason why we made this trade is because Tom was very vocal in his videos, and sometimes in the coach chat as well, that he doesn't like Mega Lucario. He's not a big fan of Mega Lucario. And I just thought, okay, I like Mega Lucario. I actually think it's better than Deoxys. Let's just ask him if he wants to do the trade. And then I talked with him, and I said, no, I don't really want Deoxys, I rather want Ho-Oh, and then okay, I could drop Deoxys for Ho-Oh, but don't have any FAs left, and then I would need to trade away Mega Manectric, because I could have 2 Megas, but I can only bring 1, which is kind of annoying, so I would drop Mega Manectric for that, and then he wanted Conkeldurr though, since he needed a fighting type, and I thought, okay, if I drop Conkeldurr, what do I need? And like that's how we came up with the trades we did. Basically, I got rid of Mega Manectric for Heliolisk, because I wanted still another electric type. I dropped Conkeldurr since I got a fighting type in Mega Lucario, and I dropped Mega Manectric since I had to drop that. And then I got Aerodactyl, which gives me another Stealth Rock and helps me with my speed here, since I lost a very quick Mon in Mega Magnetric and Deoxys attack. So Aerodactyl gives me good speed there. It gives me another Rock type and Stealth Rock as well, which I lost in Light Mode before when I switched it for Kovac. And then last but not least, I of course got the Mega Lucario, which, like I said, I just think it's a great Uber. It's very threatening. It's similar to Deoxys in that it's a great sweeper, but Lucario does it better, because it has to do its typing and do its actual having defensive stats, which exist. It can set up on a lot of mons, which Deoxys can't do. Deoxys was relying on sheer power, where Lucario actually can boost its speed, boost its special attack, boost its physical attack, and then sweep teams with strong priority, strong stab moves. Obviously, you can still just wall break by being adamant and having a adaptability, close combat, and all this good stuff. But I think Mega Lucario is just, in general, better than Deoxys. Even though Mega Lucario can run items, I was only running 2 items on Deoxys, Focus Sash or Life Orb, which is like I'm not missing, not being able to use any other item on Deoxys. But yeah, that's my reason for that. I want to make a Lucario instead of Deoxys, and then I just talked with Tom like how we can make it happen, and this turned out that we can make it happen. So yeah, that's about the trades. If you have any other questions, like this would conclude the video. If you have any other questions for me, I will do a season recap video, and if you want, you can put questions here already for that, which you can answer there. And if you want to have them answered right away because you forgot to put something in the announcement video, just put them there and like mark them, please answer now, or this is for the recap, stuff like that, so I know what I can answer now and what I should keep for the video. But that's basically all for now. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, comment, subscribe, you know the deal. Hit me on Twitter, Facebook, all links in the description. Let me know what you think about the trades and all this good stuff. And yeah, I will see you for the match versus Top later on this week. See you there. Ciao.